Welcome to HVAC Greatness, your weekly source for HVAC business excellence. By subscribing and tuning in here, you'll get insider access to proven strategies, tips, and insights for the HVAC business owner who's tired of the stress and frustrations and struggles that are common to HVAC. Let's redesign your new, highly organized, and hugely profitable HVAC business where being an owner is fun again.
Hey everybody, Pete Ramsey here, HVAC Greatness. Welcome to our live video podcast. I say live, I guess this is pre-recorded by the time you watch this. We're going to be talking about one of our favorite subjects as HVAC contractors, one of the most important things, and that is advertising and marketing. How do we drive more leads? How do we get in front of more customers? And really pleased today. We've got Josh Crouch over from Relentless Digital Marketing, and he's going to be our expert today. And guys, you guys know about HVAC Greatness, the private group. We have a lot of people in there that claim to do what Joshua does, but they're not really getting the satisfied customer, the results out there consistently. And I'm really pleased to have Joshua on. Joshua, welcome to the Greatness podcast.
Thanks, Pete. This is great. I know I've told you off air, but I have I followed your stuff for a while because I was once in the shoes of literally being into the HVAC business, not really knowing what to do, how to do it, anything. I mean, when I started, we had if people remember DOS-based software, like the keyboard based, the problem is the company I started with, nobody knew how to use it. So we literally had it was paper tickets, spreadsheet monsters. It was a good learning experience, but I've been following your stuff for quite some time, and even some of your video tips and stuff. I've used some of that stuff in the past to help with my YouTube videos and stuff. So it comes full circle when you get to actually talk to the people you've been following for a while.
No, I appreciate that. And, I've been watching you as well. And particularly, you kind of came into our group and under the radar. And I just didn't realize what a strong contractor background you have, specifically HVAC. Can you go, talk about that just a little bit?
Yeah. So I like many people, I stumbled into the industry. I've always liked numbers and data. I was one of the kid, literally, even as a kid, I would have a notebook for every Packers football game, and I'd be taking stats during the game, and I had notebooks for this stuff. Even though they took it on TV, I just wanted my own record keeping. It was just some way for me to keep engaged during the game. But I've always liked numbers and statistics and stuff like that. So I thought accounting would have been a good field for me. The problem is accounting, in my opinion, and I hope I don't offend any accountants here, it was kind of boring for me. I didn't like the monotonous routine. I like getting up every day and having something new to do, or maybe not knowing what's going to happen that day. I like that challenge. So I had an HVAC company that was local to me that needed an accountant. So I was like, well, sure, let's interview for it. I got lucky, got the job. Within a month, the office manager was leaving. The general manager, who was at that time the fiance of the owner, they're all burnt out. They had, long story short, they had some financial issues I had no idea about. Owed the old Uncle Sam a fair amount of money, like six figures, but was thrown in real rapidly to, we got to run this company and figure it out. And to top matters off, that first winter was the coldest winter in 30 years in Wisconsin. So we had record lows for most of the winter. I mean, we got hammered because the company that they had, or they had purchased, had a customer list like 30,000 people. The company had been in business for like 3-4 decades. So it was just one of those things. It was kind of like a whirlwind first year, figuring out all the things not to do. And trying to reach out to be like, how can I figure this stuff out? At that time, we didn't have all these Facebook groups that were so well developed with people that are really smart and everything else. So started there about 3.5 years, got burnt out because we just didn't have systems and process in place. But we grew, we turned the ship around. Taxman got all his money back. Everything, payroll started being on time. All that good stuff started coming back. Got out, was a territory sales manager for about a year. Wasn't really my speed. Felt myself getting kind of lazy to, again, that it's just that monotonous routine type of thing. Had one of my clients ask if I could open up a second branch for him about an hour from their primary location. No customers, no anything. It's pretty much, here's a van and $10,000, make it grow. And we did. We got to about $1 million in sales in the first year. Different philosophies on how to grow. His was more volume based. Mine was more high level service, high value, that sort of thing. So it just didn't mesh that way as far as what we were looking to do. So then I got hired by a different customer when I was on the territory sales role. And that one really started honing my skills as a marketer and everything else, because I didn't have to be the operations guy, the sales guy, answering the phone, dispatching, doing all these things. I got to focus more on software and marketing. So that was really where all of the experience with HVAC came from. And I've always been one to ask a lot of questions, a lot of questions. I will keep asking until somebody gives me an answer that I think makes sense and works. So that's kind of how we've gotten here.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it takes, obviously, is you have to understand. And to your point, there's a lot of information out there right now. There's a lot of opinions out there right now. And so many of them are based on, many good ones are based on experience, like what you have firsthand. And some of us older guys have been around, we have our sets of experiences, but much of it is based on, perception of industry norms, of the way it used to be or the way it's always been. And, you're talking about your DOS days. I think we used Peachtree accounting back when we had our it was a DOS-based accounting software. I was lost, right? And so, but we got through that, and we continue to advance. But now that we've kind of established, who you are, what does Relentless, first of all, where does Relentless Digital, that name, come from? I think it's a cool name. What is it that you provide in terms of helping, contractors get in front of their ideal customers? And, what does that look like?
So first of all, I did not initially build this company by design at first. We were doing so well with our organic growth, not having to spend on paid ads and stuff like that, that I had some contractors that we were in a coaching group with reach out and say, hey, I see what you're doing. Can you help me? And I've always wanted to own my own business. At one point, I thought maybe it would be an HVAC company. I'm not great with tools. And that's just I don't have that mechanics mind for certain things. I'm sure I could have learned it more if I was in the field, but I didn't think that was the path for me. So when I saw an opportunity, wanted to see if I could, first of all, do this for other people and try to do it for, let's say, 3, 4, 5 contractors. Because if I could, then you have something you can grow a business with. But when I was figuring out the name, I kind of used just more of a personality trait of myself, because again, having to jump into the HVAC trade, I didn't know anything about it. I never thought I would never guessed I would be in HVAC and love it. But it was just that relentless mindset, just constantly searching for answers and to get better and better and better. So I figured that would be a great name for a marketing company, because we even with the results we get, we are relentlessly trying to get better and better and better. And it's a nonstop thing. So, and I think contractors can relate to that, because they're always grinding. They're always trying to get better or get that next job. So that's how that came about. But company's 2 years old as of the end of February.
Nice.
So the first year was working full time, kind of a side hustle thing. nights, weekends, that sort of thing. And then last March, I officially left the HVAC trade to pursue this full time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm hearing good things. And yeah, I think identity is so important. And as a heating and air conditioning contractor, I'm going to speak bad about my brethren a little bit, because we do such a poor job at this, at branding and positioning ourselves in our market in a way that we're interpreted the way that we want to be. And, that's the whole greatness concept is, how can our customers perceive our greatness? How can our customers see what we're doing, is good. It's what you want. And having had the experience with these digital marketers, I help HVAC contractors get so many leads, et cetera, and so forth. I get friendship requests. I don't know if you do, all the time. People want to come into the greatness group and, sell to our our group members there, which that's not what it's about. Obviously, we want a certain amount of experts like yourself in there, but at the end of the day, it boils down to getting the results that we, the contractor, need, and getting educating ourselves as to what is our contribution, what is it that we need to bring to a digital marketing expert, so that you can take that, put it out to the world in a way that the customers say, wow, that company's relentless. That's what I want. Somebody that's going to grab a hold of this and not let go. What do we need to be communicating other than, a cheaper price and all that other stuff that historically has worked in drawing? Maybe not the best customer avatar, maybe not the customer we really want. And I think you and I talked about this the other day. We end up blaming the digital marketer. Well, you're not putting me in front of the right customers. You're not attracting the quality leads for my company. And so what is our responsibility? What should we be kind of focused on in your opinion?
Well, I think everything. I mean, Amazon has taught us to search by reviews. And I can't stress this enough to anyone who listens to this. You have got to focus every day, every week on getting more feedback from your customers, because that feedback is how other customers are going to find you. And those are also you're going to find the customers that don't care that you're not the cheapest, because your reputation is so great. And the fact that and people look at, I hear this all the time from people, well, what if we didn't have a good experience? I don't really want to send a request automatically to them. I said, why not? I said, they're your customer. They give you feedback. A lot of times, what I found is most people don't want to leave a bad review. They just want to be heard. They want someone to communicate with. And the ones that leave a bad review, this is where you have a chance to really shine as a customer service oriented company and have an awesome response, take care of that problem, whatever it is. And the next person who sees it, because what do people do when they see reviews or they see a company they want to work with? They look at the good reviews, they look at, okay, bunch of good reviews. They look at the bad reviews. Did that company respond? That's the first thing. Next, how did they respond? Some of the responses I see these guys put up in groups, they'll say, hey, just want to get your feedback on these things. And I cringe and I'm like, ooh,
me too.
I'm like, ooh, I wouldn't have gone there. It just, you have to think about it. That response to that bad review is not for that customer. That is for the next 10 customers that see that review and be like, okay, even if they screw up, I'm covered. They're going to take care of me. They're going to make sure they make it right. And that's really where so many, especially as people are trying to grow, the big companies get it right, or the ones that grow fast, they get it. They get reviews automated every day. They're asking, their techs are asking. It's the ones that are trying to get to that level. They get stuck at like 20 reviews, 30 reviews, and they just, well, I got other stuff going on. This has got you have to get this stuff. It's so important because you can repurpose this in all of your marketing. You can repurpose it on social, follow-up campaigns, to open estimates, to have like testimonials and stuff. It just goes on and on. with how much you can repurpose that stuff. But I know a lot of contractors don't think about it that way, because that's not, they're technicians. They've been trained to diagnose, fix, sell, install. And this stuff doesn't come second nature to them. And that's why I try to get the word out, where it's like, guys, every month when we do calls and stuff with customers, we look at that like, hey, did you get at least 8 to 10 reviews last month? If you didn't get at least that many, you're probably not trying real hard. So those are things that we focus on as an agency to help get that, because we can't do that for you. We can help you set it up, but you still have to drive the bus. Like, we can't make your customers love you. You still have to have good service. You have to get us pictures so we can help you remarket all of this stuff. So I guess that's a long answer to your question, but that's stuff that we look for and communicate regularly. Like, hey, get us this, get more reviews. We can help you with a strategy to get more reviews, but you still got to put in the work.
Yeah, you do. And my grandfather was a self-employed commercial artist. He worked the paintbrush, back before the computers, and he would paint the original signs, Coca-Cola, Sears and Roebuck, Frito-Lay chips, Mrs. Baird's bread, Borden milk, all that stuff back in Dallas, Texas. And it was really cool to grow up with that. But I remember, he baked the pies, he worked in his business, but he understood beyond that how important it was to understand that management side of the business and that entrepreneurial side of the business, the very things that you're alluding to. And he said, son, if you ever start your own business, make sure you understand accounting. There's nothing any worse than having to call your accountant to know if you have any money. And he's just tons of advice, but the depth at which we understand the technical side of the business is imperative. We are authorities in HVAC. That's what we do. But to the extent we gather that capability with managing our business and understanding how to measure, how to interpret these different measurements and utilize them, it has a direct bearing on our success, as well as the entrepreneurial side, not the entrepreneur that understands I'm gonna chart a new path here. And so what that does is it does put the burden of responsibility back on we, the business owners, to say, hey, Joshua, I've got this voice, I've got this identity, and I want to put it out there. And when people when they see my visual representation, I want them to feel in the gut right here. I want them to feel this, right? And so I know we're getting a little woo-woo, sorry about this, but until we understand what the emotional buttons are to our customers, how else can we predict what we're attracting to our businesses? And I used to I don't know if you're this way. If you have a heating and air conditioning unit in your house, you're my customer. That was it. I just fix stuff, or I replace stuff, or what have you.
Yep.
But it wasn't until later I realized I was fooling myself. I didn't want most of those customers, many of them.
Mm-hmm. And, sometimes the most powerful word you can say is no.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
Say no. It's okay to fire a customer. I know that's hard for people, like, well, but they got some connections or something. I'm like, it's okay. If they're making your life hell and you hate running your business because you run into people like them, say no.
Yeah.
Tell them to go to the next guy, or just overbid whatever so they quietly go away. Don't let them nickel and dime you. Your price is your price. And say no to that stuff. A lot of times when people ask you to reduce your price, they're already sold. They just want to try to get it a little cheaper. And a lot of times they're used to people saying yes. If you say no, hey, this is why the price has to stay what it is. Like, we have costs, we provide a premium service. You saw from our reviews, we're a 5-star company, and we take a lot of pride in that. It takes work and effort to be there, and constant training. So just always remember it's okay to say no. I try to tell people that because I find a lot of, especially as you're small, right? And I did the same thing as a digital marketer. I started out, I started saying yes. Oh yeah, we can help you with that because I knew how to do it.
Yeah.
But in the grand scheme of things, was it good for us to scale by me saying yes to these little odds and ends that honestly other people could take care of, or I could just make a video and I could teach them to fish, right? Instead of me fishing for them. So I like to tell people that because I think it's an often underutilized thing. It's okay to put the skull and crossbones in somebody's account in your CRM and say, yep, not servicing them.
Sure. Yeah. I had a customer, and, I went through this as well, just trying to take on everything. And, kind of my area is coaching. It's I was a service technician. I was an installer. I did sales. I ran the business, sometimes not very well, but, I grew it and we were able to, attract a superior customer for the market that we were in. But I had a customer there in Georgia, actually, and she was, she's the wife of the husband and wife team, and she ran a really good business. And I never forget, she just was always talking about knowing her lane, and this is who we are, and this is what we do, and being authentic to that, and turning some of these other, I guess, opportunities away because they're not a good fit. Because, for example, I'll do some financial training, but there's people that are better than I am, right? I'll do some, processes. What I love, and this is why I think we're kindred spirits in this, is I love to come into an authentic place in which my key message to my world is who I am, and it's consistent with the end results that we're looking to achieve. With our customers. So, and I didn't mean to get off track there. So when we're looking at being our unique selves in a market as a heating and air conditioning contractor, how do we kind of set ourselves apart? I know you work with Kit Charge and some of those guys. He calls it disrupting the market, setting yourself apart.
Yep.
How do you set yourself apart, but not so far apart that you alienate yourself and you become that weird, that company that I can't relate to?
Yeah. So for one thing, and Dan, if you hear this, I'm sure we don't completely agree certain things. You can grow your business to a couple $1 million in revenue before you have to do anything on a larger scale with branding. Don't feel like if you are, that 500,000 to $1 million range that you have to go out and spend big money on a brand right now. Right now, you just need to get jobs. You need to grow your business. You need to get a helper, another technician. Like that should be your focus. Just grow the business to the point where you can at least start having some time out of the field to make those decisions and have some money. I find, and I get it, Dan and his team do phenomenal work. Like I got several customers that are rebranding right now. We're going to be doing new websites and everything. I love the designs they make and the stories that they tell and stuff like that. Sure. But I think you need to get a reputation for you do good quality work. You tell the truth. This stuff spreads. It sounds really simple, but when you have that 14-year-old or 12-year-old unit that could get a couple of years, and you're trying to get a sale and you're trying to push them into something that maybe they're not ready for, be honest with your customer. And honestly, I get told that a lot, when I have a conversation with contractors, we're very genuine because I just tell them what I feel. I'm not trying to spin something so we can sell them a website or our services. If it's not a good fit, it's not a good fit. And I think remembering that and trying not to be someone that you're not. There's a lot of sales coaches. There's a lot of noise out there, especially if you're around the social media groups.
Amen. Yeah.
Be you. I had a client who he had gone to 2 different trainings, really well-known people. And honestly, they put on great trainings and they're really knowledgeable. They're really good at sales, but he was selling worse when he got back because he was trying to remember the steps and the things you needed to say versus just being a human being and having a conversation with another human being about their HVAC system. And I don't mean to demean what they do, but at some point you just need to be genuine and have a conversation about it. Don't feel like you got to try to spin some fancy words or anything else. It's a lot simpler than that. People like to buy from people they know, like, and trust.
Amen.
If you keep that in mind, you don't have to do all this slick Rick type stuff. Like, you don't, and I don't mean to, like I said, I don't mean to offend anyone. I just find that contractors, especially HVAC, because there's money in HVAC and a lot of stuff's getting poured into the industry, that they're targets for a lot of people who are trying to take money from them. And they're easy targets because they're in the field. They don't have time to make the decision. They don't really know what they're getting.
Yeah.
And they try to throw money at a problem.
Yeah. And which is exactly the point. I mean, we've got this business to run. I'm doing everything myself. I've got a helper perhaps. And what I secretly want is just write you a check and you make that phone ring. Right. And that's not going deep under my business hat, my management hat. But what you're saying, seem to be saying, is that by being authentic, in essence, you are attracting something that's superior. So you mentioned, talk about your quality. You mentioned have integrity and be honest. You mentioned you want to be genuine. And I added authentic because I think that summarizes exactly what you're saying. And it reminds me, I used to be a territory manager as well. Back, I worked for Linux, and we had a lady by the name of Gail Cohen come in, and she did this exercise. And I just never, ever, ever forgot this. But she said, I want you to write a list on a piece of paper, clean up the paper. And at the very top of this paper, I want you to write my best customer, which we did, right? And so she says, underneath there, I want you to start and list the characteristics and attributions of your very best customers. And I'm there thinking, well, a responsible business owner, one who appreciates quality and service, one who I can work with, and we can actually have a conversation, and they turn the phone off when they're talking to me, and all of these different things that just for me, it would have been my very best contractor business owners that I could work with as a territory manager. And we did the exercise, and you had this big sheet of paper, and at the top she says, okay, take your pen and strike through the word customer. So instead, and fill in this word, instead of it saying my best customer, I want you to replace that with my best me. And so, the lights come on. It was a really good one. And what happened was, we realized that if we're going to attract a certain caliber of customer, we had to have the right magnet to do so. We had to reflect the qualities that they are looking for. And so, if I understand you right, if I'm going to attract good customers, my marketing message has to support everything you said: quality, integrity, honesty, genuine, authentic.
Yeah, it's funny, right? Like there's no fancy secret sauce. It's just be a good human being and do your best quality work. And that's the part that gets hard, right? When you're tired, or you've been going on 14 days you've been in the field 14 straight days, you're answering the phone, you're doing all these things.
Sure.
Treat every customer like you would want to be treated. And I promise you, word will get out. You will get referral work, which we all know from now until the end of time, and the last 100 years that air conditioning has been around, it will always be the best lead. Those people are ready to buy. They have their checkbooks out. They're already ready to sign a deal with you because they know they're going to get something good. So I think if you just break it down and make it simple, and I always try to do this. I usually, what I do is I make things complex, and then I simplify it.
Me too.
Because we're always like, oh, I got to get this new thing or this shiny new thing. And then I'm like, well, no, do I really need that new thing?
Right.
We just need to deliver a good product, a good service, be fair with our rates, and so we can grow our business, and the rest falls into place. And I've always found that. And honestly, promoting good quality work on social media is really easy. it's really easy with pictures and stuff and promoting how proud you are of the work. People resonate with that stuff.
I agree with that. We were talking about that. I've got a guy in California I work with, and I think I talked to you about this. He's got a videographer, and the guy's out there videoing and editing, and he puts together these slick videos, right? So there he is on the job. They're HD, this, that, and the other. And the guy that does the video, he doesn't understand, the message that's being communicated. He's just capturing these visual diamonds. And there's this customer, he's all excited. Ooh, look how you zoomed in on that braids, on that line set, or ooh, look how level the pad is. And ooh, look at it. Versus trying to communicate some of these other things that you just clarified for us on honesty, integrity, maybe that interaction with the customer. So, watching you, the business owner, and that customer come together in a moment, and in the satisfaction in their face and all this other stuff. So capturing that kind of information and putting that out there, have you read the book 7 Triggers to Yes? And I can't remember the author's name. I apologize.
I've been recommended to read it. I have not read it yet.
Yeah. So the book is based on this. And we did this piece on the subconscious mind, the amygdala, right? And that's that little almond-shaped part of your brain that when information comes in, there's 2 ways it can go: to the cerebral cortex and the logical mind, which is who we're talking to all the time. Logical, you need the 16 seer, you need 90%, you need this, you need that. But that also goes into the emotional mind. So it's either going to go to the logical mind, or it's going to be routed to the emotional mind. And if you go into the emotional mind and you trigger any of these 7 emotional responses, you get the sale. And so, to your point, the very first one is rapport. So when you're interacting with your customer, if you get good rapport, people do business with people they know, like, and trust. Exactly what you said. And the second one I remember is the authority. And you mentioned that one as well. Those 2 together are so powerful. And there's 5 other ones, but people buy emotionally and they justify logically. And so in understanding that, it really should change how we communicate to these ideal customers so that we can attract that, because there's nothing any worse than your customer, getting you're talking to your customer about buying this system, and you throw out there, knock $100 off. I'll take $250 off, right? I'll give you a discount. And that's really not what they're concerned about. They're concerned about other higher level issues. And when you cross that, I remember doing a quotation on a little gas pack over this guy's house, and this really kicking in. I do my presentation. I go through the whole thing. I'm leaving, and the guy takes a phone call from his wife in the front yard, and he says, he's on a cordless phone, and he goes, yeah. He said the second guy's here. No, I think we're going to go with this guy. He's $1,000 more, but we're going to go with the quality. Why? I mean, it was a gas pack. I mean, we literally pulled that up and set it back. You see what I'm saying? And so it's that perception that becomes their reality.
Yeah. And if you think about it, I mean, just involve your customer in what's going on too. I think a lot of times, and this pertains to both what I do now and HVAC, is when you're diagnosing something, involve your customer in it. Oh, don't have them off on one corner of the house and just like, oh yeah, well now it's going to be $900 to fix it.
Yeah.
They don't like, here's your blower motor. This is what's wrong. This is how this works. Like, give them a very high level 3-minute overview of what this part does, why it's important. Here are your options. And then just shut up. Just let them talk. Let them think. Don't keep trying to force feed like your perception of things down their throat, because one, it'll make you sleep better at night when you know that you're doing a good job and people are buying because people know it. Like when I have an old refrigerator and it breaks, I'm like, yeah, I probably need a new one. Like we know that the stuff's old. You don't need to tell us it's old. We know. What you need to do is, hey, if it's 15 years old, just have a conversation. It's this or this. What do you want to do? What's in the best interest of you as a customer? Not because right now home sales are flying off the shelf. A lot of people are moving. They may not want to replace their system. People coming in, new homeowners probably want to make the investment so they don't have to worry about any problems for 12 to 15 years.
Yeah. And
so
things are changing as well. And we're seeing a lot less people come into the industry. We're seeing a lot of people being nabbed out of the field, and they're putting in the institutional jobs. They can work for some union company and make big bucks just maintaining some HVAC equipment on a roof somewhere. And what do you see in terms of the market? So there's competition is changing. Quality employees are harder to get. Where's the unfair advantage in that? What could we pursue, in your opinion, that'll allow us to rise above and to attract a better customer?
Well, actually, if you don't mind, I'd like to talk about the technician thing first, as far as attracting better techs and better people to your company.
Sure.
Because this never gets enough. I mean, even though it gets talked about a lot, it's never enough. And I feel like, and here's the problem. A lot of the technicians that are now owners were brought up a certain way, say 20 years ago. Things were a lot different 20 years ago and how you were trained. It was a lot more rough and kind of like, well, figure it out.
Yeah.
It's not that way today. If you want the next generation of people, you have to be flexible. You have to consider not having as many on-call hours. Maybe it's a flex. I'll tell you what. So because my company, we have remote positions. I put up an ad for a remote position. Wasn't even that great a pay. 102 applicants in like 16 hours. I just shut it off. I was just blown away, like how fast. I mean, it was just like, my email was just going crazy. Yeah. And office positions, maybe we need to start looking into remote office work where people can do things outside of being in an office. People want to live their life and enjoy it. Yes. If they feel like they got to work 70-hour work weeks, that doesn't interest anyone anymore. I know that's part of the job sometimes when it's 100 degrees out. That's not going to get someone to sign up for your company. It used to 20 years ago, 15 years ago, you get all this overtime. People are like, yeah, sign me up. I want that, because I knew that's how I was going to make a living.
Sure.
But with the way things work today, I think that old school mentality and management style is not. The companies that are having success have those things in place, the flexible schedules, maybe they shut the phones off at 8:00 so everyone can be home with their family every night for at least a couple hours. Stuff like that, I think, is becoming much more important than having someone work 24/7. I mean, we've had that coldest winter in 30 years. I had guys working literally around the clock, 2, 3, 4 a.m. I was answering the phone. It was just, that's no way to live.
No.
And it's not like someone's house is burning on fire. I get like some of the stuff's an emergency, but there's space heaters. There's other things people can do to cool down. They can go stay in a hotel for a night. Like there's things that they can do instead of making your employees work themselves to the bone. But I also think having happy employees, happy technicians, happy office staff, because they have that work-life balance, they're going to make your customers happy, and they're going to want to keep their job. Means they're going to perform higher, and everything is going to kind of cohesively work together.
So culture, your company's personality, its vision and its mission, knowing its place in the market, differentiation, and again, coming back to perception and drawing the right type of attention. So you talked about reviews and reputation and making sure you respond to things like this and being genuine. As far as Relentless Digital goes, what type of services are you offering? I know you do SEO and just a host of different things. If I'm a contractor, what would I look to Relentless Digital to support me in my efforts? How could you help me?
Sure. So we make sure that you get found when somebody is doing a search. And the reason I say it that way is it's not the only type of marketing you should look for. This isn't going and grabbing someone who's sitting on their couch, not thinking about you. So when it's 70 degrees out, you're not going to get as many phone calls. It's just the way it is. But when there is demand and people are searching, you're going to show up. And that's what we help people with. And that's through their website and also, more importantly, Google Maps.
Right.
Because that's when those reviews shine through so brightly, is when you are ranked in the Google Maps listings. After that, we do help with customer retention strategies, because I think a lot of people, they spend a lot of money on a lot of different ads. But again, pay-per-click ads, local service ads, if it's 70 degrees, nobody is going to call you. So no matter if you throw $10,000 per click or $1 per click, it doesn't matter. They're not going to call you. So throwing more money at that problem, you're just pissing it away.
I'm so glad you brought that up. Yeah, it's like my service area, July 4th, gets 100 calls looking for repair service. And then here comes, I don't know, September, October, and there's 10 calls. But yet there's all these contractors competing over those same 10 calls, and the piece of the pie gets smaller and smaller. But you mentioned supporting internal strategies. Does this have anything to do with those 30,000 customer base?
Yeah,
you mentioned.
Yeah, well, it's and some of it we can't do, but the thing is, with the experience that we have, having these conversations about getting ready for, let's say, February, March, April, when it's probably the slowest time of the year for most HVAC contractors. It's getting back in front of them through text message, through email, through maintenance memberships, through outbound phone calls. The thing is, I find it, and again, it's because most owners are technicians. They've never really had the office thing where they don't really know how to outbound phone call and do some of these things. When it's slow, there's no magic button. I don't care who tells you there is. There's no magic button in the marketing world to get your phone to ring right now in March when it's, let's say, 70. You have to go get it. Like, you have to get off your butt. You have to make calls. You have to send emails, send text messages, knock on doors, put out yard signs. Like, you got to roll the sleeves up. And the biggest, if someone could take away one thing from this, is to prepare for this, because we know it comes every single year. There's never been a year when we didn't have some kind of weather that sucked for HVAC. Prepare for it. Have a strategy. As soon as that call board or your CRM or your Google Calendar doesn't have 3 to 5 days booked out, somebody needs to start doing something. That's like an alert. Hey, we got to start calling people. We got to start following up on our old estimates. We got to start hitting whatever customer list you have. You have to go back to it and continue to go back to it. Go through the list, then go through the list again. Because most people that have been in business a couple of years, you have several hundred customers, and having a maintenance tune-up offer, or if you do duct cleaning, some kind of duct cleaning thing to get a low barrier entry service to get in the house. No matter who you pay for marketing, who sells you your marketing services, they cannot make the phone ring 12 months a year without, you have to help yourself.
Yes,
and I try to make that clear, because marketing companies cannot solve all your problems. Just because you throw money at me doesn't mean I can solve all your problems. I'd love to, but it still takes some work on your end.
And it takes some understanding of your market. I mean, what you were saying about, scheduling that ahead of time. So what that means is that if I'm on a service call and I offer a service agreement with every service call, I'm able to schedule that during these slower periods, and then we can come in and fill those schedules. I was Mike Hendricks over at Hendricks Heating and Air. He's there in Georgia. He does a really good job as well. We have a mastermind group, and he threw out the fact that he did a $49 tune-up special during this slow time. And, we're kind of laughing at that. And then the punchline comes and he says, yeah, my average ticket was $550, and we did a ton of them. And so there comes the balance. So if we can't schedule those in beforehand, and we can't make them. We can't force the service demand. What we have to do is offer something that they can say to themselves, "Wow, maybe I do need some duct cleaning. Maybe I do need to have a tune-up. Maybe I do need to have this in-between season thing that somebody like yourself can promote out there." So this requires strategy, clearly, and
well, you have to. If there's no actual demand, you have to create it.
yes, that's the point.
You can't sit and wait and hope that the phone's going to ring today. If that's what you're doing, and you don't want to do the work to go out and get it, you may want to consider being an employee.
Yeah.
And I know that may hurt somebody's feelings, but you may just want to be an employee because that's what it takes to build a business. And anyone that's built a successful business knows that you got to roll up the sleeves and do things that are uncomfortable.
Yep.
So.
Yep. And that's mindset, that's self-discipline, that's drive, that's passion, that's vision, that's having a purpose in your business. So tell me a little bit about, as we wind down, service business mastery. You work with Tersh Lissette over there. What are you guys doing over there?
So Tersh has had a podcast for almost 5 years now, if you can believe that. He still owns 2 heating and air companies. One's kind of a silent partner thing, but he has one that he runs every day. And the reason he started the podcast was because there wasn't a podcast for business owners. Yeah. There's quite a few more today, but back when he started, first of all, podcasts were brand new. Second of all, nobody was doing this. They were talking about other things. And so he wanted a podcast for people like him, business owners, to learn, get ideas, become better leaders and things like that. So he had been doing that a while. And then we had known each other for quite a few years. And it was April or May of last year. So right after I got out of being full-time in the HVAC industry, started asking him about starting my own, and I didn't quite know what I wanted it, like what focus I wanted it to be, but he wanted some help on the marketing side and stuff like that. So it's kind of a nice match made in heaven. And so I've been helping trying to promote the podcast, get it out to more people, interview thought leaders, people both. And this is probably where we're a little unique is we also interview people outside the industry that we relate back to the service industry, because I think sometimes we get these blinders on and we forget that there's hundreds of other industries out there. And a lot of them have already solved problems that we are just starting to experience with software, automation, and stuff like that. So having people from outside come in and give their experience, I think is unique. We also interview people that, have been in the industry a long time, have a lot of good insights to give. But we do have a Facebook group too. We try to keep topics very high level and have good conversations about how we can all grow together. Mm-hmm. So it's like you said, we get requests a lot, and I'm the one that kind of filters those out. I look at the profiles, I'm like, okay, you have nothing to do with this industry. You're probably just looking to sell something. Stay out of our group. It's not what this is for. Like, this group is for people to learn and get better, which can sometimes be a full-time job, just filtering those people out. Yeah. But that's what it's about, and helping service business owners, managers just get better, grow, be better leaders, own better businesses, own back their time.
Yeah. Well, I got to say, Josh, breath of fresh air, man. I really appreciate what you're doing. I appreciate you serving and giving back and working with, an expert like Tersh and bringing something to, this area of, I wish I had your marketing appeal. I do this identity thing, and you do this, the advertising thing, to putting the two together. If people understood the relation of that deeper, it would be it'd just be a better world. But you spoke briefly before we began that you're providing like a transparency of the return on the investment that, or you're moving in that direction. As we wind down, can you speak a little bit to that and how we can differentiate and achieve greater things through our advertising marketing efforts? Okay.
Yeah, so we have a lot of normal marketing reports, like the stuff from Google and all of these things. And we track phone calls through CallRail. So that way we can, and we actually have someone, we just started listening, tracking, recording those phone calls, and also making notes. Like if the call was a lead and it wasn't booked, why? Right. What happened? Was it a price shopper? Was it the wrong service area? Or maybe, there's a bunch of different reasons why a call may not be booked, but we're trying to look for trends. And you'd be surprised, maybe you won't be surprised. Maybe other business owners would be surprised that a lot of times there's a lot of unanswered phone calls, which if there's anything as a marketer that gets me hot, it's that leads are being driven to your business and you're not answering the phone. Yeah. So if we work together, answer your phone or have a system in place for that phone call to go somewhere else if you can't answer it. So we're trying to discover high level business intelligence stuff. So it's like, hey, you had out of, let's say 40 leads last month, you didn't answer 8 of them. So 20% of your leads you didn't answer. We need to come up with something to fix this. Like this is a problem. So we're working on that. And then with CRMs and API connections and all these things, we're really trying to deliver monthly reporting that really matters to the contractor. And that's in the form of, I got this many calls or leads. This is how many dollars that turned into. And then you can do calculations based off of that stuff. But what is my ROI? If I made $10,000 and I paid you $1,000, I got a 10x ROI.
Sure.
So transparently that this is working for you. Because if we're only delivering a 3x ROI, you should probably fire us.
But taking responsibility on that relay race, if you hand the second runner the baton and they drop it, you've done your job. You can't do it for them. So they've got to answer the phone. The website has got to work. It's got to convert. We've got to see the waste reduced, because it's like a funnel, the sales funnel. The first one, we capture what we can, but we're going to lose some at that. Every time the customer has to take another step, we risk losing a percentage of them. And so keeping that as efficient as possible is vital. So point well received. Yeah. Well, Josh, I appreciate you, spending some time with us and going through.
This was great.
And so how can listeners find out more about Relentless Digital?
Well, we can go to our website, which has a bunch of information, which is relentless-digital.com. I haven't decided to pay the $3,500 to get the relentlessdigital.com domain, so I had to put the hyphen in there. Yeah. But either that, or I'm probably on Facebook a little too much, but you can find me on my personal Facebook and talk to me on there too.
Great. So it's probably Messenger. Is there a phone number?
I usually prefer doing something like that, because then we'll set up a Zoom call if we really want to talk. That way it just kind of gets to that point where we, otherwise my phone's ringing nonstop.
Yeah. Well, you got a family life too, don't you?
Yeah.
All right, my brother. Well, listen, thank you so much for coming on and spending some time with us today. And, we look for bigger and better things. And, it's guys like you that really make the difference. And we really appreciate you.
Thanks, Pete. I appreciate it. It was great talking to you today.
Likewise.
Hey, it's Pete. A quick thank you for joining me today on HVAC Greatness, or maybe just letting me keep you company as you're out running about. Either way, I sincerely hope that you picked up on something today that might help you and your business progress on your journey to HVAC greatness. Want more? Make sure we stay on the air. Share the podcast with a friend, rate and review it, and be sure to subscribe to our email list at hvacgreatness.com so that you don't miss anything. This is Pete Ramsey signing out and reminding you why your customers love your business and what makes your company great. In one word, you. So let's keep refining your already good image and make it truly great.